The morning sun glared through the glass windows of the coastal cafe, bright enough to make the sea outside shimmer like a sheet of silver. Customers chatted lazily over breakfast, unaware that a storm had just walked in. Tall, sharp-jawed, and radiating cold fury, Rashid Alhazar, one of the most feared and powerful billionaires in the Middle East, strode through the doorway with steps that made the floor tremble. His security team remained outside, knowing better than to follow when Rashid was angry. He looked like a man ready to walk away from the entire world. His assistant trailed behind him, whispering apologies, but Rashid didn't even blink. His face held the kind of expression people wore when life had betrayed them. And he was seconds away from leaving this cafe, this city, and maybe everything he had built. He was turning to storm back out when a soft, shaking voice reached him. Words he never expected to hear here in this distant seaside town. "Saba Alkar? Hal Anta Bekhair? Good morning. Are you all right?" He froze. Those words were spoken in flawless Arabic, by a waitress. Before we continue, if you believe kindness still exists in this world, and if you want more stories about second chances and quiet miracles, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to Good Deed Stories. Your support keeps these powerful lessons alive. Rashid turned his head slowly, and standing there with a tray pressed nervously against her chest was a young waitress with gentle eyes and a tired smile. Marwa Halim. Her name tag was crooked, her apron faded, her hair tied up messily as if she had rushed from one task to another without catching a breath. But her Arabic was clear, soft, and strangely comforting. For a moment Rashid forgot his anger. It wasn't just the language, it was the way she said it, as if she cared even though she didn't know him, as if his pain wasn't something dangerous or complicated, but simply human. But Rashid's fury returned quickly, fueled by the morning he'd just had. His business deal with a European firm had collapsed, partners had betrayed him, and on top of that, he had received a call that reopened wounds from 8 years ago. The sister he had failed to protect, the one he still couldn't forgive himself for losing. He felt like the universe had cornered him, mocked him, broken him, so he snapped. He didn't yell. He wasn't the type. Instead, he lifted his chin with the icy arrogance of a man accustomed to control and said in a low voice, "You speak Arabic. Interesting. But I'm not here for conversation." Marwa swallowed, nodded respectfully, and said she understood. Her hands trembled slightly, but not from fear. Rashid recognized that kind of trembling, from exhaustion, from carrying burdens bigger than oneself. She guided him to a table near the window, overlooking the shimmering ocean. Rashid sat reluctantly, mostly because walking out now would feel like he was running from something inside himself. As she placed a glass of water before him, she noticed a slight wobble in his hand. His fingers wouldn't stay still. She saw what others missed, a man holding in too much. The cafe around them was alive with clinking dishes, morning crowds, and warm daylight, but Rashid felt trapped in his own storm. He didn't know why he stayed seated. Maybe because for once, someone had spoken to him not as a billionaire, not as a powerful man, but as a person. Marwa returned to take his order, and though her voice was polite, her eyes flickered with concern. She asked in Arabic if he wanted something sweet, something warm. Sometimes it helped calm the heart. Rashid looked at her sharply, confused by her intuition. But before he could respond, her manager hissed at her from the counter to hurry up, calling her slow, loudly enough for customers to hear. She apologized quickly, bowed her head, and rushed away. Rashid watched all of it silently, his jaw tightening. He disliked seeing humility used as a shield against disrespect. When she came back with his coffee and pastries, the tray shook again, not from fear this time, but because Rashid's cold stare made her feel exposed. He thanked her in Arabic, surprising himself, then turned his gaze toward the waves. Minutes passed. Rashid sipped his coffee, but his mind spiraled back to his sister, Lena, the guilt, the late-night phone call, the last message she'd sent him. He felt the crushing weight he always carried, pressing harder with every heartbeat. It was Marwa's voice again that broke the silence, soft, hesitant. She had returned to check on him but froze when she saw tears in his eyes. Tears he wasn't even aware had fallen. Her voice trembled. If you don't mind me asking, sir, are you carrying something you shouldn't carry alone?" Rashid stared at her, stunned. No one talked to him like that. No one dared. She immediately apologized again, but this time he lifted a hand to stop her. Something inside him cracked, a shield he had worn for too long, and without planning to, he told her, not everything, but enough: his sister, his guilt, his morning disaster, the betrayals, the weight of being seen as unbreakable when he felt like glass. Marwa listened, not with pity, but with a heart tuned to pain. She didn't interrupt, didn't judge, didn't offer solutions. She offered presence. Warm, steady, human. When he finished, she whispered something in Arabic he hadn't heard since childhood. Al-Kalb aladhi yatilam al-sabir la yakasar salan. A heart that learns patience does not break easily. Rashid blinked hard. Only his mother used to say that. Marwa smiled faintly and told him that she grew up in a tiny Syrian village where her grandmother had repeated that phrase during the war, during hunger, during every loss they faced. She said she learned Arabic not because it was convenient, but because it was all she had left to hold on to when she left her country. She worked here to support her younger brother's education and to save enough money to help her mother receive medical treatment. Life had stolen much from her too, but she had learned to stay soft anyway. Rashid felt his chest tighten, not painfully, but in a way that reminded him he was still alive. He looked at her with a different kind of respect now, deeper than he ever offered strangers. The cafe manager's voice cracked across the room again, scolding her for standing too long at one table. Marwa apologized and rushed off. This time, Rashid's expression hardened, not in anger at her, but at the unfairness of how the world treated gentle souls. He finished his coffee slowly, watching Marwa move between tables with a politeness that didn't match how tired she looked. Her shoes were old. Her apron had been repaired multiple times. She avoided making mistakes, but when she did, she apologized as if the world might collapse. When she returned with the bill, Rashid slipped a black card into the folder. Marwa froze when she saw it. Those cards weren't used by ordinary people. Her throat tightened as she whispered, "Sir, this is too much. I can't accept." He cut her off gently. "It's payment for the humanity you gave freely." She shook her head firmly. "No, sir. Kindness is not for sale." Rashid felt taken aback by her integrity. The world he lived in was built on business, contracts, power. But this young woman was untouched by all of it. He asked if she had a break soon. She hesitated but eventually nodded. When her break came, they stepped outside near the cafe's small outdoor seating area where the sun warmed the pavement and the ocean breeze softened the air. There, with daylight bathing the world in gold, she told him her truth. Her father had died in the war. Her mother was ill. Her younger brother, Karim, was brilliant but had no chance at education unless she worked every day, no matter how tough. She sent every extra dollar home. She rented a tiny room, often skipping meals so her family wouldn't have to. "But I'm grateful," she whispered. "Every sunrise means I survived another day with hope." Rashid felt something shift inside him. He had spent so long believing the world owed him for his pain, for his past, yet here was a girl carrying heartbreaks far heavier than his with dignity, faith, and warmth. He thanked her sincerely, and as he did, Marwa did something unexpected. She placed her hand on her heart, bowed her head slightly, and said in Arabic, "May God ease what burdens you." No one had blessed him in years. Rashid looked out at the ocean, then back at her. Something inside him steadied. He finally breathed fully. Before going back inside, he asked carefully, "What is your dream, Marwa?" She laughed quietly. "Dreams are expensive, but if I could choose, I would open a small Arabic cafe one day. Warm food, warm hearts. A place where no one must feel alone." Rashid memorized her words. When he left the cafe, he didn't leave angrily. He left with purpose. The next morning, daylight poured over the cafe as usual, but something was different. The manager was pacing outside, confused. 3 luxury SUVs were parked across the street, and Rashid Alhazar walked out from one of them. Marwa, startled, stepped back when she saw him. She thought he had come to complain or address something serious, but instead he handed her a neatly folded document and said softly, "Dreams are not as expensive as you think." She opened it with shaking hands. Her eyes filled instantly. A lease agreement, a fully paid, for store, front 5 blocks away, enough capital for renovations, and a note, for the heart that reminded mine how to feel human again. She looked up at him, speechless, her lips trembling, tears rolling down her cheeks. He gently told her that she didn't owe him anything, not gratitude, not loyalty, not return. He did it because she changed the direction of a man who had been walking toward destruction. And in that moment, in broad daylight with people gathering around them, Marwa whispered a prayer for him again, this time with tears, not fear. Before I share the final lines, if this story touched your heart even a little, please like, comment, and subscribe to Good Deed Stories. It helps these real, feeling stories reach someone who needs hope today. As Marwa clutched the papers, still shaking, Rashid smiled. Not the smile of a billionaire, but of a man finally forgiven by his own heart. She thanked him quietly, promising she would build a place where kindness lived. A place that would honor every person who walked through the door. Rashid nodded, knowing deep inside that this was the first genuinely good thing he had done in years.